Hello and welcome to this How to Paint Rusty Necrons video with me, Xenovids. Here we have my workstation set up on our dining room table, and what I'm going to be doing today is some of Games Workshop's Praetorian, how do you pronounce it? Necron, Triarch, Praetorian models, and I'm going to do them just like you see there with their rods of Covenant, I think is how they say it. So I've got 10 of them. I'm going to be going through, putting them together, the paints I use, and it's just one of those videos where you can paint along with me or get some ideas of how to paint Necrons. So I'm going to set the camera up so it's in a better position for you to see, and I'm going to start this tutorial. A quickie note, just so I can show you what I'm going to be doing for the basing. So what I've got here is my swamp-filled bases. Now I'm going to have them with raised platformy bits. I can just focus on there. I think they're going to be surrounded by swamps, because the reason they're being rusty is because they've woken up on a jungle world. Now, how I make this all shiny and look like water, I use a good product. Here's one I made earlier. It's the still water from Vallejo. And what you need to do is you can either paint onto the base, or you can mix in with this semi-translucent liquid the paints you want. Now it can be either greeny swamp, you can have blues, stuff like that, whatever, or you can even make shiny lava. Anything you want to look like liquid is what you use this great product. Do it in thin layers. This is only layer 1, there'll be 5 more layers after this, and it really brings it out. It takes about an hour for it to dry in some places, depending how thick you put it on. And that's how my Necron Praetorian people are going to be based. Okay, so here I am at the workstation. All I'm going to be doing is getting them out of the boxes, following the instructions of how to make them. So I'll speed up this part of the video so it doesn't take too much of your time. So, here I begin. So I'm starting to unclip them from the sprues. What I like to do is base the sprues in black, so they've got the paint already on them, then unclip them and then glue them together that way. It's just the thing I do. You can either leave them unpainted, glue them all together and then base them, or do it this way. So going through the instructions, very easy to follow instructions, however very fiddly. For the torso alone, I think there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces for the chest and head alone. 2 arms, 8. The weapon, 9, and then 2 legs, 10, 11. So 11 pieces to each model. I'm going to unclip and stick together. So lots and lots and lots of pieces. It is a bit fiddly at times. If you are younger, so 14 years I think is the age Games Workshop recommend to do their things. Do it with an adult to help you. It can be fiddly, a little bit frustrating at times, but compared to other models, I think they are probably one of the fiddliest. If you compare like a Termagant, which has the body and then you stick the arms on. The arm and the leg piece, that's 2 pieces to that one model. I think on an army kind of comparison, I think Necrons, even though this model is a bit fiddly, they're one of the easiest armies to play and get started with. Them and Space Marines are the easiest ones to pick up and go along. They're very similar with their stats, but they're also very different in many ways. But they're forgiving, the Necrons. They're a very, very strong codex still in 6th edition, and I really enjoy doing Necrons. I like Xeno armies, and I think they're my favourite. I'm not a big fan of Imperial armies, although Imperial Knights are quite nice. But for me, it's all about the Xenos armies, the alien races, and Necrons is something different. I'm normally a Tyranid player, so I've got all the bio bugs, the aliens that way. These are the complete opposite, the metallic ones. There we go then, they're all assembled. What I like to do is prime the sprue black, like this, and then just kind of makes it a little bit easier for me. Sometimes when you do models, I especially advise not to stick everything on together because it makes it extremely difficult to reach those places where you might want to do detail. But with these ones, because it is simple, putting some rust on some Necron models, it's a really simple technique and you can just glue your models together and it'd be no problem. So I got them all glued and they're all done. So I'm going to start by turning them from black to metal. And if you see some flashing lights, it's actually a thunderstorm outside right now. But yeah, I'm going to start my painting. So here we go. First metallic paint I'm going to be using is Lead Belcher. It's a darker range of the metals, and it's a really nice, strong metallic colour. If you wanted to make non-rusty Necrons and make it a bit brighter, you can then dry brush Ironbreaker on top, and then Necron Compound to make them really shiny and clean. But I really like these dirty, rusty effects that will be happening to these Necrons. It's something different. I don't really see a lot of rusty Necrons out there because the technology is so advanced that you just couldn't imagine that they get a bit rusty. But these ones do. So you can be really, really liberal with your paint. Literally just slap the Lead Belcher on all over the model, on everything. Just a nice coat of metal on every single thing. We will be going on to making it a little bit darker later on. But yeah, these Necron Tryout Praetorians, never used them, and in my local meta, so the people I play Warhammer 40k with, they don't really use them. However, I saw a battle report on Mini Wargaming where these guys were in a squad and they also had a Necron Destroyer Lord with a Resorb and what is it? Brain Leech Scarab thingy bobbies. Mineshackle Scarabs, that's it. And it worked out quite well with the Resurrection Orb, bringing them back on a 4 up, and then putting the there you can see the metal of it, and I'm now having a think about what I'm going to do with the gold. But I think the Necron Destroyer with the Praetorians could be a good combination. I've decided I'm going to do gold where they are on the box art. So without further ado, stretch, get my Battle Brown, move everything else out of the way, get my thin brush and normal size brush, your wash brush, and get going. Well, the reason I like to use Battle Brown before I put on gold is I find that recent Games Workshop paints, there's just, the pigmentation in them isn't, well, good enough really, isn't strong enough when compared to other paints out there. If you have lighter colours, such as whites or yellows or gold, the pigmentation is just, you just need to do a few more layers, which I guess is why they do base and then layer and then dry brush model range, paint range. But if you put Battle Brown on, it has a good dark, kind of almost sandy looking colour, and then if you put on a layer of gold, it really shows a bright, what you see gold should look like, really. which is really good effect and a good little technique to use if you're finding Games Workshop golds are a bit meh for you. So what I'm doing is putting gold on their shoulder pad bits and also doing their weapons in gold, the top and the lower part. Similar to how I've seen on the box art, but the contrast of dark metal and gold works quite well when the rust is applied later on, because the gold really brings out the orange and the rust, so you can really see a different tones of the rust later. So what I do now is get my Agrax Earthshade. I need to darken all of the model, the metal, and all of the gold sections need to be a lot darker. So that is what I'll be doing next. It's really important with this wash to get in each and every crevice of the model so that you can make every single part darker. It also brings out it also highlights all the detail in the model, which is another brilliant thing that these washes do. Agrax Earthshade is essentially technique in a pot. Okay, so I have put Agrax Earthshade on them all, and as you can probably tell, they are a little bit darker. What I'm going to do now is start the rust effect before I do any green. I'm going to do a kind of green dry brush glow effect on the weapons and other parts of the model. But first, I'm going to be using Games Workshop Typhus Corrosion and Riser Rust. Using this, it's kind of watery. It's got pigments in it as well. It's a bit dark, and that'll be used to darken everything and allow me to then do the rust effect on top of that. I'm going to go ahead and add it to areas of the model.
When applying the Typhus Corrosion, it's important to think where the rust will build up. Now, I do a good helping along all of the metal, so when it does dry, it's a very dirty looking metal. When you first put it on, it looks similar to mud, but it does dry a little bit transparent, so you can see some of the metal underneath in places. Wherever you put the Typhus Corrosion on, there's something in the corrosion which dries onto it. And what this does, when you dry brush the Riser Rust, it picks it up nicely and highlights it in a rusty effect.
So as with most cases, I don't know if you have this happen to you guys, but I've been demoted from the dining room table and told to leave because food will be prepared soon, and they don't want, apparently they don't want any glue or any paint anywhere near the food, unfortunately. So I'm going to do the rest from inside my room. Here's my new workstation, because I don't have a desk in here. But if we take a look at the model now, so after we put the Typhus Corrosion, it's become a lot dirtier and it dries really well, but I don't know if you can pick up the kind of raised bits, almost like there was sand in it. And when I do the dry brushing for the rust, they'll come up brilliantly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do some dry brushing for you all. Okay, so I'm going to continue now. I'm going to use the dry brush Riser Riser Rust thingy-ma-bobby. I'm going to take my large dry brush and I like to use a palette so I can get most of the excess off and do it properly. So I'm just going to really dab it on.
It is extremely important with the dry brush that you put on the tiniest amount on your brush, and it's better to build your way up from light dry brushing to a more heavy effect if that's what you're going for. If you go straight away into a heavy dry brush, it's going to be a bright orange and it's not going to look as realistic or good on the model. So start by doing a dry brush lightly, with hardly any of the riser rust on the brush, and build it up. And always experiment with models, and eventually you'll find out how much you'll need for what effect you want. So here he is, a little more rusty than normal. I do that light in my help. You can kind of see it's made him a bit more rusty, which is good. And now we need to add the green. I'm going to add the green to the middle, his eyes, and on his weapon. So we're going to continue the dry brushing technique. We're going to start by doing a layer of Death World Forest. Death World Forest. Similarly with the riser rust, it is best to dry brush with a light amount of paint on your brush, and you can always build up. At this point in time, if you do too much green, it will go over all the paint layers, the metals, the golds, the shades, and the corrosion, which would be terrible. Light dry brushing, always build it up. So now there's been a tiny bit of green highlight. What we're going to do now is add in Skarsnik green, just to bring that green out a little bit more, and I'm going to use the small dry brush. As you can see, it's becoming more and more green. And there's a couple more highlights of green to go. I'm going to do Strachan green. More and more dry brushing, highlighting, making the light source the gems. And we're going to do the final dry brush, which is amazing, and it is called Nurgling Green. So it's the lightest dry brush of all of them, so be very, very delicate with it. So here they are, all piled up and completed. And this is what they look like. So, using the simple steps of Lead Belcher, Balor Brown, Shining Gold, Agrax Earthshade, Typhus Corrosion, Riser Rust, and then going through loads of different greens which you can experiment with, dry brushing them so that you have an effect of a glowy kind of effect. Now I could go over the green with a green wash to kind of pick it out a little bit, but for tabletop standards they're fine, I think. So what I'm going to do to finish off with is stick them to their bases. And that's the end of the tutorial. So thank you very much for watching. I'll do a quick thing at the end to show you what they look like on their bases. And I've been Xenovids. Please subscribe, like, comment and share, and I'll see you on the next video.